Welcome to the deep dive. We're here, basically, to cut through all the noise.
Mhm.
Take a good look at recent news and figure out what actually matters.
Yeah, sift through the headlines.
Exactly. And today, we're focusing on some, well, pretty big developments in business and tech. We've gone through a bunch of recent articles.
Right.
Our mission, if you like, is to pull out the key trends, the things that could genuinely impact the economy and, well, us.
It's definitely a fast-moving area. The stuff we're looking at today, AI, cybersecurity, it just shows how quickly things change, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of change, the first big one is Sir Joni Ive. The design genius behind a lot of Apple's iconic stuff.
Well, iMac, iPod, iPhone, yeah. Huge influence.
Right. Well, he's joining forces with OpenAI, the ChatGPT folks.
Oh, interesting, not just advising.
No, this is bigger. OpenAI is actually acquiring Ive's startup, IO. It's reportedly a $6.5 billion deal.
6.5 billion. Wow, okay, so that's serious.
It is. And Sam Altman over at OpenAI seems uh, incredibly enthusiastic. He called Ive the greatest designer in the world.
Great praise.
Yeah. And he talks about wanting to partner with him to, quote, reimagine computers, create a new generation of AI-powered computers.
So OpenAI is moving into hardware. That's a pretty major strategic shift.
Seems like it. They've dominated the AI software side, or at least been a huge player, and now maybe they want the device too.
It makes sense in a way. Control the whole experience.
And Ive seems to be on board with that vision. He said something like the world is on the brink of a new generation of technology.
Hmm.
And get this, Altman mentioned he's actually tried a prototype designed by Ive's team.
Really? What did he say?
He called it, and I quote, the coolest piece of technology that the world will have ever seen.
Okay, no pressure then.
Right. That definitely set the bar high. What strikes you about this whole thing?
Well, a few things. First, Ive's name alone brings massive design credibility, doesn't it?
Absolutely. People trust his aesthetic, his feel for products.
Exactly. And like Ben Wood, the analyst, said, you'd be kind of foolish to bet against Joni Ive, given his history of shaking up markets.
Good point. He did it multiple times at Apple.
And Justin McGurk from the Design Museum made a good point, too. Ive's involvement could really boost confidence in AI hardware.
Because some of the earlier attempts haven't exactly set the world on fire, like Humane AI or Rabbit.
Precisely. There's maybe some consumer skepticism. I could help overcome that.
And what about OpenAI's motivation? Ben would also mention they're likely wanting a direct line to customers.
Yeah, that seems key. Right now, most people use ChatGPT or similar AI through, an iPhone app or a web browser on a PC.
Devices made by Apple, Google, Microsoft.
Exactly. If OpenAI has its own hardware, they control the platform, the experience, the data flow. It's a much tighter loop.
Gives them more control, maybe deeper integration of the AI.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And direct user feedback, that's gold for development.
Okay, so a potentially massive shift in AI hardware on the horizon. Let's switch gears, though, to something maybe less glamorous, but, well, just as important. Cybersecurity.
Always lurking.
Yeah. There's been a big global takedown recently. Authorities and tech companies working together against something called the Luma info stealer.
Ah, yes, Luma. That's been a nasty piece of work.
What exactly is it, an info stealer?
It's malware, basically, believed to be developed in Russia. And it's become really popular among cybercriminals. Its job is to steal your sensitive info.
Like passwords.
Passwords, credit card details, banking logins, even crypto wallet information, anything valuable they can grab.
And then they use that to drain accounts, commit fraud.
Exactly. Or disrupt services, maybe even extort data. It opens a lot of doors for them.
The article mentioned a big surge in these kinds of stealers since around 2020. Why now?
Well, probably a mix of things. More life online means more targets. Plus, these tools are getting better, more sophisticated, and easier for criminals to get their hands on.
Easier to buy off the shelf, sort of thing.
Pretty much. And maybe the most worrying part, as Patrick Wardle pointed out, is how they're being used now. They're not just grab and go anymore. Info stealers are becoming like the first stage of bigger attacks.
A foot in the door.
Exactly. Steal some credentials, then use those to move deeper into a network, maybe for espionage or to deploy ransomware later. They play a more operational role now.
So even serious hacking groups are using them. Nation states.
Yeah, Ian Gray from Flashpoint mentioned that. Their prevalence means even advanced groups might use them sometimes. It helps them hide their more sophisticated tools, maybe avoid burning their best stuff on initial access.
Makes sense. Keep the really advanced techniques under wraps if a simpler tool works.
Right. And we saw similar takedowns last year, didn't we? Redline, Metastealer.
We did.
Yeah.
So is law enforcement actually winning here, or is it whack-a-mole?
Well, the takedowns definitely disrupt things, which is good, but the general feeling seems to be that info stealers are just too effective. They're probably likely here to stay for a while. It's a constant battle.
Okay, another ongoing threat. Now, sticking with security, but shifting focus slightly software supply chains. Researchers found malware in the NPM repository.
Yeah, that's a big one for developers. NPM is this huge library of JavaScript code packages that developers use all the time.
Like building blocks for software.
Exactly. And someone found 8 packages that contained, well, destructive malware.
Destructive how?
Designed to actually corrupt or delete data, crash systems, really nasty stuff.
And the scariest part? It was apparently hidden there for 2 years.
2 years, undetected. That really highlights a vulnerability in open source, doesn't it? The scale makes it hard to police everything perfectly.
And these weren't obviously named malware package, I assume?
No, they use names very similar to legitimate popular packages. It's called typo squatting.
Ah, so a developer makes a tiny typo when installing something and gets the bad version instead.
Precisely. Or gets confused by similar names. And they estimate around 6,200 downloads over those 2 years.
That might not sound huge, but if those packages got into important projects...
It could be really damaging, yeah. The researcher, Kush Pandya, said the attacks range from subtle data corruption, which might go unnoticed for ages, to just aggressively shutting down systems or deleting files.
Okay, so people need to check if they use these. The article listed them. JS Bomb, JS Hood, Vite Plugin Bomb Extend.
Vite Plugin Bomb, Vite Plugin React Extend, Vite Plugin View Extend.
Full View Plugin Bomb, and Quill Image Downloader.
Right. So check your dependencies, developers.
Absolutely. It's a reminder to be careful about what third-party code you pull in and to use security scanning tools.
Okay, one last piece of news, and this one feels very 21st century. The FBI is warning about deepfake audio scams.
Ah, yes. Using AI-generated voices.
Exactly. They say there's an ongoing campaign started around April 2025 using AI voices to impersonate government officials.
Who are they targeting?
Primarily senior U.S. government officials, current or former, and maybe people they know, their contacts.
And what's the goal? They send these deep-fake voice messages, often combined with text messages, trying to build rapport, seem legitimate, and then trick the target into giving up access to personal accounts or sensitive info.
And the scary part is how good these fakes can be, right?
That's what the FBI says.
Yeah.
Often, the difference between the real voice and the AI voice is, well, basically impossible to tell without expert analysis.
That's deeply unsettling. So how can people protect themselves if you can't trust your ears?
Good question. The FBI has some recommendations. First, and maybe most important, verify independently. If you get a weird call or message, even if it sounds like someone you know, find another way to contact that person through a known, trusted channel to confirm.
Don't just trust the incoming message.
Right. Also, scrutinize the contact details, email addresses, phone numbers, links. Look for tiny differences, subtle misspellings. Scammers rely on you not looking too closely.
Okay, attention to detail.
Yeah. And look for weird things in any images or videos sent along. Listen closely to the voice messages, too. Any unnatural pauses, odd word choices, weird tone.
Look for the cracks in the facade.
Exactly. And, if you're ever in doubt, especially if it involves requests for sensitive information or access, contact your security folks or the FBI. Don't hesitate.
Better safe than sorry, definitely.
It really feels like we need a new level of digital skepticism these days, doesn't it?
It does. These scams are basically weaponizing the same AI tech that holds so much promise elsewhere, like we saw with the Ivan OpenAI news.
That's a really good point. Innovation and risk, hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, we've looked at the potential future of AI hardware with Jony Ive. We've seen the persistent threat of cybercrime with Luma and the NPM packages, and now these sophisticated AI voice scams.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a really dynamic landscape. You've got incredible innovation happening, but also constantly evolving threats exploiting those same technologies.
The main takeaway, I guess, is seeing how connected all this stuff is.
Yeah.
AI development, hardware, software security, personal security, it's all intertwined and impacts the economy, impacts you directly.
Definitely. These aren't just separate headlines. They're pieces of a larger puzzle about way technology is taking us.
Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener. With AI moving so fast and cyber threats getting, frankly, scarier and more sophisticated, How do we adapt? How do individuals, how do companies protect themselves in this world?
And maybe also, what's the responsibility of the tech companies building these powerful tools? How do they ensure they're developed ethically and securely?
Lots to chew on there. It's a complex digital frontier we're navigating. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.